Chris and Bob, my friends, I hope this finds you well. I know, I look different. I've got my hair down. But welcome from the snow-filled valleys. We had snow here Wednesday and it's been absolutely wonderful. It's just like you look out your window and there's just snow everywhere. It's wonderful. It really is. So here we are, Epiphany 3. As luck would have it, I actually had Epiphany 3, the readings for this, the Gospel, Matthew 4, 12, 23, when I took part in a project last year to write a book of reflections. Now, I only contributed 2, but this is the book. I've just dropped my diary. If anyone would be wanting a copy, I believe it's on Amazon, I might be wrong. I'm in this alongside much smarter people than me. Theologians, some theologians, some none, some just at the start of their careers like myself, some seasoned veterans, and some of my instructors have also contributed to this. I don't get a penny, so I'm not plugging it. But if you'd like to have a look, please do. Check it out. It's called The People's Church. I'll get that diary later, that's fine. So without further ado, let's talk about what today is, Epiphany 3. You see, when we first begin our reading, we hear that John the Baptist has been arrested. And this prompts Jesus to leave Nazareth and journey to Capernaum. Now, I know, at first glance, it looks like Jesus is backing off a little bit, doesn't it? It looks almost like a retreat. Indeed, the NIV tells us Jesus withdrew to Galilee. There's that word, isn't there? Withdraw, retreat, strategically step back. But where Jesus went is important. You see, Capernaum is on the northern shore of the Sea of Galilee, and it's directly referenced in the words of the book of the prophet Isaiah. He says, the way of the sea, beyond the Jordan, Galilee of the Gentiles. And Jesus heads to Galilee as he's following scripture, in all honesty. Matthew tells us even more of Isaiah's words. Matthew says, the people living in darkness have seen a great light. On those living in the land of shadow of death, a light has dawned. It's no accident that Jesus chooses this place to begin his ministry. Capernaum, now I did some research for this, I know, shocking, but Capernaum is actually, or was actually, primarily a fishing village under Roman rule, and yet it had an absolutely melting pot of classes. Think of any major city, Cardiff, for example, the melting pot of cultures, beliefs, and people that live there. You had fishermen, workers like Peter, who lived alongside tax collectors like Matthew. In short, the citizens of Capernaum occupied a very broad social strata. But if instead of retreat, what if we see Jesus' move to Capernaum as a strategic maneuver? Changes things slightly, doesn't it? You see, in Capernaum, Jesus found people of different social classes, like we've just discussed, different skill sets. But one thing united them. As Isaiah told us, he said they were living in darkness. And Jesus knew that in Capernaum, not only would he find people who were willing to listen, not only would he find people that could do a variety of different things and reach a variety of different audiences, but he also knew that in Capernaum he would find people willing to listen to him, people willing to listen to his Father's message, people willing to join him. And this week, I believe it was Wednesday when we had the snow, it marked the beginning of the week of prayer for Christian unity. This week, of course, falls between the confession of St. Peter and the conversion of St. Paul. Because, such wonderful, unified and harmonious souls those two were, weren't they? Never had a cross word to say to each other, ever. If I could find a sound effect for crickets, that's where I would have put it. But this week asks us to highlight the things that unite us, to pray for reconciliation where there is divide. And oh, my friends, there is a lot of divide right now. There's divide over the gender recognition bill up in Scotland. There is divide on the blessing of same-sex marriages in the Church of England that was recently in the news. There is divide all over the Anglican Communion. There's even divide. Open your door. Go to your front door, open it and look out into your streets. I promise you, my friends, there is a heck of a lot of divide out there as well. You see, there's political divide. Issues like Brexit are still even now looming large. There's divides racially. There's divides in faith even. Whether we like it or not, my friends, Christianity, we're a minor religion now. We're on the back foot. But if you think about it, we've almost gone full circle, back to the days of St. Paul. Indeed, I mean, we're not having to hide in people's houses anymore, I know, but the church is shrinking a little in terms of attendance. Indeed, in today's epistle, Paul addresses this divide. He asks the church in Corinth, he says to them, what's all this about? What am I hearing? You people saying, oh, I follow Paul, I follow Apollos. Yeah, but was Paul crucified for you? No, I wasn't. Jesus was. So why aren't you following him? How many times, my friends, how many times have we walked into churches over the years where we've stopped after a certain amount of time and we've asked that exact same question? Why aren't we following him? And I love the epistles of Paul anyway. I love Paul's writings. In many ways, his story mirrors my own, and one day we will talk about this. So I feel a great degree of kinship with St. Paul. But there's a wonderful comedic moment in this particular epistle where he says to them, listen, I was sent not to baptize, I was sent to preach. All right? Okay, I've baptized Crispus and Gaius and the family of St. Stephanus, but you know, and anybody else I've forgotten. It is just like anybody else I've forgotten. I love it. But Paul is right though, my friends. In his own way, he is right. Despite our divides, there's one thing that unites us all. Jesus went to the cross for us. He went to that cross for my unworthy ass, and he went to the cross for yours. We're all beloved children of God. Every single one of us. You, me, the guy next door, the fellow walking past my office right now. We're all beloved children of God. And we're all walking the same journey. Life often gets called a journey, doesn't it, my friends? One made up of many different roads. Indeed, the liturgical calendar is a journey all of its own. And some of the roads are familiar to us, such as Advent, Holy Week, and of course Lent. And I love the fact that Lent actually gets some secular sort of exposure with people saying, oh, I'm dry January, for example. I know it's not in the Lenten period, but is that not a form of Lent? I'm giving up alcohol for January. In a very real sense, the Gospel of Matthew today, it almost reads like a journey. It's very linear, very step by step. The passage begins with Jesus journeying to Capernaum, but anybody who has read or seen the movies, The Lord of the Rings, knows that a journey is better with companions. And so when Jesus gets to the Sea of Galilee, Jesus tells us, as Jesus was walking beside the Sea of Galilee, he saw two brothers, Simon called Peter and his brother Andrew. Then Matthew continues and he says, going on from here, he saw two other brothers, James, the son of Zebedee, and his brother John. These four men were the first disciples. If Jesus had not retreated, if Jesus hadn't shifted his path, if Jesus hadn't changed track, would he have ever met James and John? Would he have ever met Andrew? Would he have ever met Peter? I get on at Peter, and some would say rightly so, some would say I'm a bit unfair. But the truth is, Peter is a huge deal. There's so much that hangs on him. If Jesus had never met him, how different would his ministry have been? How different would the church be today? So when life feels like it's forcing you to retreat, don't ask yourself, why am I being pushed back? Ask yourself, who or what is God bringing my way? These openings, Jesus moving to Capernaum, Jesus walking alongside the Sea of Galilee, Jesus moving further on to meet the first disciples, and finally, Jesus going throughout Galilee, teaching and healing and preaching. Matthew gives us that very linear, step-by-step sense of journey, and Epiphany at its core, my friends, is no different. You see, Epiphany is a journey. It's when we journey with the Magi to meet Jesus. Truth is, we know very little about their journey. But we know they took one. We know they took one in faith. And this mirrors how we journey alongside each other in unity. Andrew, Peter, James, John, they didn't know where this path with Jesus was going to lead. They just went with him. They had no idea where this thing was going. But they walked with Jesus together, unified in faith. And I know, my friends, I know sometimes it can feel like we're having to retreat in life. But if we pause, if we look around us and see who's been drawn to the journey with us, see who's been brought on the path alongside us, or to even see who we're being pulled alongside. This is the thing. Often we talk about who's supporting us, but my friends, we support others too. See how you've moved into a better position to begin the road before you. Like Jesus in Capernaum, like the Magi, like those walking this path in faith, and those who still walk in darkness, because they're still out there, my friends. They still need us. Show that unity, my brothers and sisters. Pray for healing. Be aware of who you are walking alongside, who God has brought into your path at times of joy and times of desolation. That book I showed you earlier, one of the contributors in there, he walked alongside me at a time when I was in dire need of being shaped. And I still feel the impact of the journey with him to this day. Remember, my friends, you might feel frustrated, you might feel pushed back, but remember, God brought you those people, he brought you onto that path for a reason. And I'm going to share one final thought with you, my friends, one final thought. If you need nothing else from this video, remember these words, okay? It's been 13 minutes, this is a long one, I'm sorry, but I do. But seriously now, right, remember this. Divides, whatever that is, whatever it looks like, divides only have the power you give them. Amen. God bless, my friends, and take care.